Welcome to Indie 5 by Rauta. 5 albums, smaller or less of size or fame, and some older ones included. Let's start with some French bands going split. So basically we have more than 5 bands, even though we have 5 releases. This one is called Atra Musica, a split release between Darkenhöld and Griffon, two French bands creating black metal their own way. We could even say melodic folk way. Released by Ladlow. This is once again one of those beautiful digipacks which I often remember to say how much I like them. I like this as well, even though I'm not sure this kind of a dark black and red is very readable when it comes to text here and whatever. But here you go, nevertheless. Here we have this herald of sorts, and once again these texts which don't make that much of a read here with these colors and zoom and whatever, but at least you can do an attempt to read them. So as you can see, this is a slate album between two bands, 4 songs each. And what could be said? Darkenhöld has never been that kind of a big name, but they have certainly done their own medieval folkish black metal with kind of themes that are related, castles, medieval times and whatever. And as such, I kind of like what they're doing, being kind of unique, or at least a rare breed. But musically, they could have been doing so much better, and unfortunately, that kind of sums up this part of their split as well, because once again, they are creating their own kind of sound, but it's actually lacking the kind of a catchiness which should be there when we're talking about these kind of a medieval melodies and whatever. Now, Griffon is basically of the same breed, but it's the weaker horse, so to say, with this split one. They certainly have their own ideas as well, very similar to Darkenhöld. So basically, if you like the other, you're probably going to like the other as well. But these both bands have the same kind of problem. They have their tunes, they have their ideas, they have their live action role playing feeling, but it's just missing those good riffs, good melodic parts, good singing, and all that stuff. So it's like to me it seems like this is kind of like 2 demos on one split, even though as much as I could gather from the factual points, it is not. It is just a split release with 2 bands which just fit each other, but I mean, it's not really that good. But it's not like we have plenty of medieval. So if you're one of the fans of those subgenre, go for it. You might even like it. Then we go to a little bit older release. This one's called Hell Patrol from Poland. There are other bands with a similar name, so when you're googling the band, make sure you find the right band, or just use the links below. Now, this is a band that has been labeled as black trash, which I think is pretty accurate, even though there are some death metalish elements there. Now, when I say this is kind of a hybrid between those genres, that is very accurate when it comes to actual riffs, because the riffs are actually somewhere like between black and death metal, but mostly on about trash, and the vocals are more trash death, being more a Crowley than shrieky type. But there's certainly some black metallic feeling or atmosphere, if you will, and that is why this album is kind of a hybrid. So it also faces the problems with so many hybrid bands, because the thing here is it's not pure trash for trash fanatics. It's a little bit off. It's like Vader from Poland was baptized in some kind of black liquid, and then you have Hell Patrol. But unfortunately, it is lacking the riffs and ideas of Vader, because Hell Patrol is like a leftover band in so many ways. I mean, they have all the ideas, but it's not finished, polished, created in a wonderful way. To me, it sounds like one of those bands that are just kind of falling between. Now, this is a little bit older release, so if you're into this kind of hybrid, from ruins to ashes, should be easy to find in distros. Probably not sold at release. It isn't that big a name anyway. But unfortunately, it's not really delivering totally what it's supposed to. Just a nice try, and that's it. Next, we move on to a United States of America with a band called Impreaction. Also, like with Hell Patrol, there are other bands with the same name, and I guess this band deserves the name more than others because this was founded in early 90s, 1991, if I remember correctly, and it was just gone for many, many years. Then came back, and now we have this result with this new album. Here's, by the way, the cool Bestial Herald. Damnatio ad Bestias is the name. Here you can see the CD layout. Now you can pretty much figure out black, red, white. It's got to be one of those blasphemy bands. Well, yes and no. Impreaction is more about kind of having this dark, slow pace death metal, even to the amount of being kind of a doom death. There are faster parts, surely. So in terms of being dark United States death metal, one could say this is loosely related to bands like Incantation, Immolation, and whatever. It's not that good, in my opinion. And I don't want to be harsh or evil here. I'm just saying this is very, very mediocre in terms of this genre. Now, it's heavy as hell, but it's unfortunately quite dull as well. There are no killer tracks or chorus parts where you're like, hey man, I really like to headbang or fist bang to this. It's more like, yeah, I get this, what this band is all about and what they're after, but it's not delivering. It's one of those bands that tries so hard, but ends up being a little bit boring. So there you have it, only for Death Doom fanatics with Incantation, Immolation, Madness, or whatever. Then we go to a different part, and now we have some really, really cool looking digipack, very different cardboard feeling than usual. This seems like a recycled cardboard release, and released by Eisenwald. They have nice work with this release when it comes to the actual packaging. One of the better looking packages, if you ask me. If I'm not mistaken, this is from Netherlands, Nusquama, Horizon Ontheem. No idea what it means. 6 tracks all in all, and basically carved all from the same stone or piece of wood. Now, all the songs are pretty fast forward. They are fast tempo. They are kind of a messy, kind of a dissonant, not with good production, and just same kind of similar screamy vocals all over again. Once you have heard one track, you know it all the way through. And unfortunately, this is not a good thing to say because none of these tracks are exactly good. In fact, it is a very mediocre album for so many reasons. First of all, the production is kind of a weak and not clear, in order to create this kind of distinct riffs and songs. It's just like zzz, this kind of hissing noise. It's not really primitive or ultra raw, but it's definitely not kind of a high definition thing either. The big problem is, however, not the sound or not the vocals, which are boring and in my opinion could be a lot better. But the thing here is, none of those riffs are memorable. I tried to go through and I was like, well, I was driving the car while I was listening to it at home, and I was like, man, all these songs sound so much the same. It's like the riffs are like very simple ideas, just giving all the time the fast tempo, and then you're like, man, finish the song already. Give some curve and some angle, something, a curved ball to it. But no, it's like just repeating itself in a way. It's just starts to annoy. And it's not even the one of the kind of hypnotizing types what we're talking about when we're talking about Burson type of atmospheric black metal. Sometimes repeating a single but good riff is going to be a magical thing to happen. But here you don't have any good riffs. It's all just this kind of a dissonant layers, and it's going no place. Unfortunately, it's kind of a boring, less than a mediocre maybe, especially if you count into the production. So I'm like, dudes, change something. This will appeal only to a marginal subgenre people, I guess. Last but not least, we have a band called Zephyra from Sweden, Fall.Rise.Conquer. And as you can see, this is just a traditional promo CDR even. Not more to unbox. This is modern Swedish metal. There's metalcore, there's melodic metal, there are almost poppy parts, and then there are kind of a death metallic flirt or whatever you want to call it. And this is female from the band, so there is a strong female vocals, which are good, by the way, both in the clean parts as well as just more, let's call them curly parts. The problem with Zephyra is, however, it is kind of a directionless. It's not going any place properly. It's giving a little bit of a wing there and a little bit hint there and also on the back, but it's not just, putting it all together. Production-wise, this is very strong, an album. I mean, everything is like top-notch there, like from the vocals to every instrument that is very clear and powerful, but the music itself is kind of lacking the catchiness and just lacking the kind of a magic it would need to glue them all together. Now, it's not like a totally useless album, but it is for me it's kind of hard to actually figure out which kind of audience this is kind of meant to. Is it meant to metalcore audience? Maybe a little bit. Is it meant to people who are all about modern metal, melodic or otherwise? Yeah, maybe, but not quite. So the problem, to me, it seems, is like this is without direction. It is just not able to put it in a way that it would appeal as a whole album to any given audience, but more like a little bit there and a little bit there. And as such, it lacks good structures, good overall feeling. Nowadays, but now it seems to me it is just like a band in progress to evolve from a demo level to bigger level. So not my cup of tea anyway, and to be honest, I don't know whose cup. Maybe it's a band that will go on stage to warm up bigger bands and eventually will find its way to radio play or whatever, but for hardcore metalheads, nope. That's a big nope. Anyway, thank you for watching and see you soon with more Rauta reviews.